Okie dokie. Can't actually get my window back. Oh, here we go. Live on Facebook. Welcome to. Sorry, Neil, that gets me every time. I hear a recording about this recording is being recorded, and I've just gone live on Facebook. Very bizarre. Good morning, everyone. Welcome on Facebook Live to number 20. Why don't you social distance? Welcome, Linda. We are going to be talking about this social distancing thing because we're all eager and anxious and confused. So we're just going to start something. We've got to talk about it, can't keep ignoring it. So who's going to kick off? Let's have Sammy. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen?
Yes, so how will this social distancing, wearing masks specifically, affect our interactions with our students? How it's going to distract them? Will it distract them? Will it help or hinder? And what are the risk elements of wearing the masks as well? So all of those interactions that we normally have are going to be affected. So yeah, it'd be interesting to discuss those in more detail.
Yeah, and how to keep even safer. Try and thinking about techniques that we can all think about before we actually do it is going to be a good thing. Yeah, thanks, Sammy. Thanks, Sammy. Terry?
Morning. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'll be interested in what comes out actually, because yeah, we've got a few ideas between us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see what comes out.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Terry. Kev?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's something that I'm interested in to have a conversation about it, rather than the normal, you got to do this, you got to do that. So I think that'd be quite interesting, just to have a conversation about certain things, how we interact, how the pupils are going to perceive it, and that sort of stuff. So I think it'd be quite interesting. Yeah.
What I'm looking forward to is how the conversation seemed to go in this environment, and certainly on the timeline on my timeline on my Facebook page, the conversation seemed to be very fair. People are discussing things. There's very little of that slightly antagonistic, argumentative, accusatory thing. So I'm looking forward to this staying the same way, and I'm really glad for that. I'm really glad of our environment. Thanks, Kev. Neil?
Yeah, much the same as what the others have said. I'm just thinking more on the emotions that we're all portraying with it as well. So how we all start to feel about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's a roller coaster for me, up and down, personally as well as professionally.
I think it is for everybody, but it's just good to see other people going through it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. So let's go for one of Sammy's questions first then. I've forgotten what they were already, Sammy, I'm sorry.
How wearing a mask would affect your interactions with a student?
Yeah. Has anyone got any thoughts on that? I'm quite allergic to the idea. Has anyone got any thoughts about masks? Di?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the fact is that, first of all, we've been advised to face forward and not face towards our pupil. So wearing a mask and not looking at our pupil, I think, is going to affect rapport greatly, because you can't make those facial expressions. I know we're supposed to sort of dumb them down a little bit, but how can we mirror? How can we mirror our pupils if our pupils are smiling at us? How can they know that we're smiling back? I've got a feeling exactly, Sammy. Maybe those shields might be better than masks, but I don't know how effective they are. I don't know if anyone can enlighten me, but maybe if we wore those shields rather than a face mask, that might help. Just a thought. I don't know.
Well, yeah, this is the problem between because if you're in that closed environment, that's why they're talking about having the windows open. If it is, because they always said originally it's not an airborne thing. And I always thought, well, that's ridiculous because everybody in every other country is treating it like it's an airborne condition. And I think that the visor deflects the airflow, but it doesn't stop it circulating, does it? So if they're talking about surfaces and touching things and, you know, this sort of contact, I don't see how that kind of virus is not airborne. I really don't. But that's personal opinion. But I see what you're saying, Di. I don't know. I don't know. And what's the difference between the mask? Yes. So there needs to be some clarity. What's the difference between the mask? Got you, Kev. What's the difference between the mask and the visor and having the windows open? After Kev, Phil. Yeah.
I think, I mean, going on to Di's thing about rapport there, I think something's going to, in the way we teach, will probably have to change. Because we can't mirror, we can't see what's actually going on. Sammy put the mask on there. We haven't got a clue if she was laughing, smiling. You know, all we could see is the eyes. So I think the way we teach has got to be changing in respect of how we interact with that student. It's going to be very different. And until we probably potentially, I mean, I know I've probably done a little bit of it with practicing wearing masks, and, or should we say, scarves around the face at the moment because we haven't got any masks. But how different it is in a car environment is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. One of the attendees said, Phil, I've got you in a sec. It was Kelly said about hearing aids. So anyone who lip reads, never mind with the hearing aids, but anyone who lip reads is really hampered. I've got you, Di. And then someone else said with the glasses. Glasses, what I've personally found with the mask and glasses is you need to put it on and wait for them. You need to put the glasses on and the mask on and just wait. They do fuzz up for a while, but then it seems to acclimatise once you've got the heat going on everything. But that's what I've found.
You need to have the ones with the nose bridge in them, the bendy nose bridge. Otherwise, you can't grip them to the top of your nose like this. So if it's just like a loose scarf, it will steam up. But I wear glasses, obviously, and you need those nose bridges in them.
Yeah.
And then that stops the moist air going up to the glasses.
Yeah. And I do have that one, or one of those with the nose bridge. Brilliant. I mean, this is all important. Phil.
Yeah, just sort of pick up on Di's point of the difference between the mask and the visor. My understanding is that the mask, the idea of it, it's to prevent the virus or to slow the virus down going out from us. It's not going to stop you actually intaking the virus. So the tighter you have things around your face, the less is going to escape. If you have a visor, the idea of the visor, especially for the medical staff and so on, if a patient coughs and there's any form of spittle or anything like that, that actually protects their face from getting that physical contact. Because the eyes is apparently one of the places where you can, anything like that would have access straight into the body. So that's what the visor is for. That's to prevent that, but it's the mask that's needed to keep that tightness around your face.
Yeah, they have always, you're right, Phil, good point, that they have always maintained that the mask is to prevent you spreading it to others. Yeah.
I think one of the problems is, I mean, Tina goes out shopping once a week and she comes back and she says, as soon as a person puts a mask on, they're right up alongside you. It's like they think they're immune to anything. And I think that's something you'll need to be a little bit aware of as well, that it can lead people into a false sense of security. When actually the mask is to prevent the virus leaving them rather than them ingesting it.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable with the barrier, just with the sunglasses. I remember a Why Don't You recently, we spoke about the barrier. I think it was that. It could have been a different bit of training. But I remember talking about the barrier that sunglasses are even. And one of my pupils was saying, why is it that you do that when you turn to me? You know, we're both driving, and I used to do that when I would talk and then look at the road again. And they always said, well, why do you bother? And I said, oh, okay, I'll leave them up. How do you like it now? And she said, oh, I hate it. Even looking straight forward, she felt it was a barrier because she was used to me popping them down. So a face mask is going to be a real problem. Especially when it's going, you know, when they're getting a little bit distressed. And I think, Kev, you're probably quite sensitive to that. you know, where we've got to try and help them in that moment where you can't detect it, where you've got no clues. No clues. There's a question down the bottom from someone that's been there for ages. Can someone tell me if it's a question that we need to address?
No, I'm just going to reply to it, Fiona.
Okay.
I wanted to say something, didn't she?
Oh yeah, sorry, Di.
See, I can see you, Di. I can see you.
Thank you, Kev. Somebody's watching. Somebody's looking after me. It's going back to hearing aids. You know, it's something very close to my heart because I wear two. I think it's going to be a real issue. It is already an issue for me with people wearing masks. Not only does it muffle it, but as you rightly said, you can't lip read. And I think a lot of people, deaf or not, do a certain amount of lip reading. So if driving instructors are going to have to face forward and not look at their pupil, because that's something else I always look for, is for somebody to be looking at me, because it's easier for me to hear them if they're looking at me. And secondly, I lip read loads. So it's not just the fact that you can't hear, but there are so many other issues going on with masks, real issues, you know. So I don't know, you know, how that is going to either affect instructors who are hard of hearing or pupils who are hard of hearing. It's a big issue.
My understanding as a qualified lip speaker, Di, a qualified lip speaker rather than a lip reader, is my understanding is most of us lip read and we just don't know we do. We just don't know it. And that's why everyone's complaining. If you think about it, everyone's saying, oh, it's muffled, it's muffled. It may not actually be muffled when people speak. It's just that we can't see. We haven't got that, what is it, 80% of communication being verbal? Non-verbal, beg pardon, non-verbal. It's only 80%-ish, 20, oh, for goodness sake. Who's got something else to say? See, it's non-verbal because you know I'm struggling, right? I am struggling. Lee, your turn.
Thanks. Nothing really to say. I think it'll be a challenge, but I think it's about adapting. And I think we'll adapt without really knowing we're adapting. And what might also be interesting is on the other side, we'll probably all be talking like this, and you know, and getting our messages across in other ways. And when we get to the other side and everything, whenever that is back to normal, then that might be interesting to see how we all react again to that.
So what I like most about what you've just spoken about, Lee, is you're the first person to talk about solutions. We're all talking about how it's going to, but now let's move on to solutions then. So what are our solutions to that face mask issue? Is it that we need to do much more? I've got you, Sammy, I'll come up in a sec. Is it we need to do more in that way? Is it what can we do? Because I don't think there's a problem with driving along the road and saying to somebody sitting next to me, because you can't see me and you can't tell what my face is doing, every now and then I'm just going to put my thumb up. Just put my thumb up. Could it be reassuring? It could be. I don't even know. Even if someone didn't like it or like, or whatever, I don't have a problem. But it could be one of the ways that we could actually ease that situation, and it could be a solution. So it could be. Sammy?
Yeah, I was thinking along the lines of to be able to have more conversations, which are always good, having more breaks because it's hot under there and everything, to get out of the car and have the conversations. So take the mask off, stand the 2 meters apart and have those meaningful conversations. But because you're standing up doing that, I'm wondering about how that's going to change the focus of the conversation, because when you sat down, you're so much more relaxed, aren't you? Chilled out when you sat down. Standing up, you're more focused on getting on with the point. So, yeah, I think we've got to be mindful that we still need to have the same kind of coaching conversations that we had before, but just in a different way. And we still need to have them. So we're not restricted to the car. And if it's raining outside, take a couple of umbrellas. At least you can stand under them.
Yeah.
But we do need lots of breaks, definitely, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Stand inside the oh no, I don't know if there's enough space, but an empty trolley park. I've done that before. Empty trolley park, go stand in there in the rain. You know, where they put the trolleys. Kev and then Neil, please.
I'm probably going to do more, and this came from something from, I think I read it on NASP and the ADI NJC, but texting the pupil beforehand, asking a couple of questions. But I also think I'm going to incorporate probably more coaching conversations then, and that might well be a phone call, it might be a text message, I don't know yet, I haven't worked it out fully, but I think there'll be more of interaction even before I go to meet them. I think we'll be doing a lot more along those lines. And that might also include sending out more emails, so they've got their reflective log, they can do that at home more. You know, I think there's a lot more I will probably do away from the actual lessons. That's probably the way I'm going to go along, something along those lines.
Yeah, nice, Kev. So linking with what Sam is saying, I agree, Kev. So there's WhatsApp, there's FaceTime, whatever apps you've got. Zoom, if you're in the mind to do a Zoom one-to-one, it's free for one-to-one, unlimited time. But Sammy, I agree with you. Getting out a little bit more. And I'm sure some people will think, yeah, but they're not on the move. But actually, where there's more quality to that conversation, you can also discuss the value of breaks. But actually having that kind of conversation, it might actually be better and shorter. And we are summer at the moment, so I don't know what we'll do come winter time. Actually, there's less rain in the British summer than in the British, less rain in the British winter than British summer. I'm really struggling today. But I like what you said, Kev, about solving, and there's another solution is have more discussions, more coaching conversations, those deeper coaching conversations before someone actually gets on the move. And then if there's time, there's also time for those things to become permanent. So it's that kind of learning that someone can do. Thanks, Guy. There is that kind of learning that people can do before. And there's also sleeping on things. So the day before, you actually lay down embed memories overnight. That's why they think we sleep so long. Neil and then Di.
Yeah, I'm going to clone Di's phrase. We're a bunch of fixers, and I think that's what we're trying to do now. But we're not thinking that the pupils might have ideas. They might have been wearing face masks for some time now, and they might have things that we've not thought about as well.
Good point. Yeah, just ask them what their solution. Why is it we feel like we've got to do it all? Good point, Neil. Wish I had that one. Nice. Very nice. Di?
Stop it, Neil. Now. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say pretty much the same, actually. You know, we're all sitting here saying, what can we do? You know, the pupil have got their own worries and their own fears about coming for driving lessons. Some of them won't think twice about it, you know, but I'm sure some of them, if they've got a test coming up, they have to. It forces them to have driving lessons. You know, what are their thoughts about it? So, yeah, I think absolutely agree with Neil. You know, it's a conversation about, you know, how can this work for you?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm clicking about because I'm trying to get rid of things. You know, I'm trying to get rid of those questions that come up. I think you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else got anything to say, Terry? Seeing as you're giggling. More solutions. Terry, you've always got an analogy or a solution.
Solution? No, blood, not me. I was laughing at Phil made a comment on Facebook about Di nicking my thunder again. I was just going to say what Di said.
Repeat it then in your own words.
What Di said? She said cheese on toast tastes better with Worcester sauce.
That's without a mask.
Was I right? Was I close?
So more solutions. So we've
Someone
got
else.
solutions about that, and then because Kev, you were saying about reflective logs, and I think you're right. There's immense value in that, mostly because it really engages the driver in their learning. So it could actually benefit them a lot if we take steps to do that. So your wheel, Kev, your wheel, whatever that wheel of fortune, I can't remember what it is. I don't remember the name of it, but I know it's a wheel really beneficial, and also the reflective log, because there's even a reflective log you can reflect after the conversation that you've had.
I think with me it's about trying to limit the amount of time in the car as well.
Yeah.
Because I suffer from asthma, so wearing a face mask might be an issue. Well, I know it's going to be an issue, so I might not be able to wear one. So I need to limit the amount of time I'm in the car. So doing as much as I can away from the car or outside the car. It's just trying to deal with that.
That's a really good point, Kev, because there's so anyone who's, I've got you, Lee, anyone who's even slightly claustrophobic or having breathing issues, like you say, Kev, I hadn't thought of that either. So if the advice is all people inside the car have to wear masks, how are some drivers going to feel if they're like you, Kev, and it's going to be a distress? I have met a few people who cannot tolerate anything on their face, and that's a real problem. That in my nursing career, you're putting masks on people who are, and they need oxygen. It's a real problem, and that's why they have to go for the nose ones. But it is. I hadn't thought of that. Again, solutions. Yes, I've got you, Sammy. I did do it, but Lee's first. It's a massive issue. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Kev, because it's good for us to be reminded of things that we don't actually have. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah, just wanted to build on what Kev had said, just about doing more things before lessons, after lessons. So I think that can be really useful. And also just wanted to say that anyone who knows me, my biggest issue is time management, and it's actually going to be more of a solution for me. It's forcing me to manage time, so it's forcing me to look at my diary properly, rather than having those people that come in and say to me, I can't do tomorrow, could you squeeze me in on Thursday? And I'm like, well, I've just got that space there, and I could just, and I've got a 50-minute gap, and I'll fit an hour lesson in, and I'll travel to and from. And so I actually think it's going to actually force me to look at the way I work and actually fix some problems. So positives.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, if we're going to be wiping down the car in that amount of detail, that's adding a lot of time. And I don't know about you guys, but we get different. I've got you, Keith, after Sammy, and it's going to add a lot of time to the stuff between sessions. Is it going to affect us financially? Just throwing that out there, Sammy.
Yeah, it's really just a quick look back at when we were talking about masks and shields. I saw a comment on the Facebook feed, which actually has made me think about it. What about the airbags with the face shields? If the airbag goes off, what's going to happen with them? I thought it was a really good point to add in, because we've already covered that bit, but just to consider as we're going forwards what we're going to be wearing, what we're going to be doing to protect ourselves and students.
It's a good point.
And the risk elements of that, and we should also be discussing the risk elements of actually wearing the mask itself, right from the outset.
Because then the only mask option or shield option would be something builder styly that's designed to withhold and either flex or something. But because an airbag deploys at 200 miles an hour ish, doesn't it? It's from nothing to fully deployed within 0.2 of a second. I don't think it matters what hits you in the face, really. But if it's going to splinter, that's going to be dreadful. And if it's going to flex, then that will make a difference. But This is optimistic and hopeful, this stuff. But well done. Whoever said that on Facebook, thank you for that point. Thank you, Sammy, for bringing that up. And Keith, go for it. Cheer us up. No pressure.
I was just going along with what Kev said regarding talking to your students a lot more. I'm quite lucky because I don't do it as a full time. I do it more part time. So I've got the time after lesson where maybe rather than sitting in the car talking, I can say, we'll have a chat on Zoom or Facebook and we can have a chat about your lesson today and how it's gone and things like that. So I've got that advantage, and fortunately I've got that advantage.
Yeah. So we're getting, so Kev, are you writing these down, the solutions of those kind of things before, getting out, during, and then Zoom again and things after. I'm glad Kev's doing it all. Terry was marginally before Di.
I'm going to let Di go first. I'm going to give her a chance. I'm going to put down one word, write down one word about, will describe what I was going to talk about, and we'll see if she can steal my thunder again. All right, I got proof now. All right, Di, you go first.
Thank you, Terry. Again, it was going back to what Kev was saying. What we're all generally saying really about contact with pupils and the amount of time it's going to take between lessons. So if we can actually reduce the amount of pupils that we see in one day, that will reduce the contact and reduce the time that we need in order to actually disinfect the car. So you could still earn the same amount of money by seeing less pupils in a day. So still work the same amount of hours, but maybe instead of doing hourly lessons, do 2 or 3 hour lessons. And do 2 of those in a day rather than 6 1-hour lessons.
That's a really good point. And on the back of that, contact them beforehand and say, well, you know this is happening, save up, have the money in one lump or the pay in advance, whatever people do. But yeah, it's having conversations and saying, well, to minimize the risk to all of us. Yeah, good point. I like all these points. Kev, you better be writing this stuff down. Terry, how much of your thunder did she actually nick?
0.
You
Finally.
failed, Di. I think that's classed
In
as
your
a failure.
face, Di.
He's going to talk about football now. You know that, don't you?
Well, I've got a mute button. I'm ready and poised.
I think someone touched on it earlier, but I wasn't really listening only. I was trying to get someone logged on so they can watch. But we're humans, and something humans have always done from the beginning of the year is we've adapted. We'll all find ways to adapt, each of us on our own little ways to adapt to this, and we will carry on, and we will, keep doing what we're good at. So, you know how laid back I am, just chill, don't worry, do a few sessions, you realize what needs adapting, what you got to change, and carry on the best you can, people.
Yeah. I like what you said. Something I've just thought of as well. I think it's thinking about Kev. Got you, Neil. I think it's thinking about Kev is how most of us tend to think about this virus in terms of I, me. And yet I'm thinking, well, how would I feel if, I'm passing it on to someone who is that little bit vulnerable? I think that's very difficult for me to think about again, just because of me being the person that I am. Passing it on is something that will motivate me more than the risk to me. I consider myself to be not in the vulnerable categories at all. But again, is it worth mentioning that I think for me, anyway, it is. When I think about the cleaning, I'm protecting others rather than feeling that I'm protecting myself. And I need a motivator because that is going to drive me nuts on an hourly, daily basis. It did before and I only did it a day or two. And it was like, anyway. I've forgotten who it was. Neil.
Yeah, there's another issue as well, because we've all got to start considering dress codes as well now, because you're not supposed to have any bare skin showing. So how are you going to get around that as well? And we're all used to wearing short sleeve shirts, and you know, you get students coming with shorts on, and so there's got to be thoughts and conversations around dress codes now as well.
That's lightened the load a little bit, isn't it?
I surrender.
It's true. It is true.
We'll adapt, Neil. We'll adapt.
Well.
Yeah. Sorry, two of you are talking at once. We'll adapt. Terry was saying. Keith, what did you say?
I was just going to say the students have also got to realise they've got to adapt their clothing as well.
Well, and this is it. This is where we need to do the conversations, the liaisons, the peri, and post session initiatives that we all need to do. Di, you haven't muted, so I'm just wondering. You must have more to say.
Scrubs.
Scrubs.
Scrubs. That's it.
Yeah, get the sewing machine back out.
Yeah. The PPE costs. I don't know about anyone else. Has anyone tried to buy any PPE, anything lately?
Yes.
Sorry, I just
What
saw
can we do?
Terry loves wearing shirts. Just popped up from Lee. Yes, Terry's got one. Anyone who knows Terry, right? If anyone wants to buy a mask from Sammy, there you go. She's even got a clippy nose bridge. I don't think we should be, I get into trouble for promoting things.
I'm not selling them. I just give them to people.
Oh, do you? Oh,
Yes.
there you go. I think you've just given away quite a few. Keith.
I'm just saying, all the masks and all the cleaning gear and everything else, are we going to start charging our pupils more for the lessons?
It's a point I was going to bring up in a second, Lee. Yeah. It was a point I was going to bring up actually a minute ago when I was laughing at Terry too much and I forgot. I agree. We've got a lot of people who are franchised and therefore governed by their franchise companies. There are a lot of us that are self-employed and therefore we can. I don't know how that's going to go. I'd love to see a national call for, but it's difficult. It really is difficult, Keith. I agree. I don't know about you guys, but I'm considering it. Well, I'm considering not doing many learners anyway. It's Lee first, then you, Terry. As long as you finish, Keith. I'm sorry.
Yeah, all right.
Lee.
Just with regards to PPE, I've found if you can buy bulk and like packs, so I got some face masks, cleaning gel, and some cleaning wipes as a bundle from an online, and that works out quite cost effective. So I think that's a good idea to look out for those kinds of things. With regards to costs, I think that we have to look at ourselves in this regard as businesses, not individuals. I don't think we should be looking at ourselves as driving instructors with the same relationship that we'd look at between client and coach. I think we have to sit individually and just look at ourselves and look at our business models and think about what we need to do to maintain ourselves as a business. I think that's essential, because we all need to be here in 12 months' time at the other side. And all the costs, not just your face masks, but all our costs are going to go up in the next 12 months. Insurance is going to go up for certain, petrol, if you need to buy a new car, household bills, everything is going to go up. And so we need to prepare now, because at this point, I think it's justifiable. And
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I know. Yeah. if you plan ahead now, then I think you can deal with it. And I think if you don't, it's going to be difficult in 6 months when we go into a recession. Happy Christmas, everybody! To justify increasing your prices, then plan ahead.
Good to have you back, Lee. Terry, I think it was you next.
Just going off back what you said, Fiona, and what Lee just said. I've put my price up during lockdown in anticipation of this. But we've got a couple of questions I think need answering on Bookface. One's from Steve, our very own Steve King.
Why is he not here? Steve, you can come in late.
He said something. He said, I've bought loads of PP, it stinks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good point.
Hang on. No, so I misread it. Bought loads of PPE, it ain't cheap. Sorry, I think it meant PP as in something else. Sorry. He said it's not cheap. And John Billingham.
It does stink. It does stink too. Those.
Does it?
It does. The chemicals on it. It does stink.
Too much asparagus.
Well, yeah, not of asparagus.
No?
That's what. That's what your PPE smells of when you have asparagus.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought. John Billingham, really early on this morning, says, does anyone know, and it's a good question actually, does anyone know if sanitizers will affect the surface of the vehicles?
Yeah.
Including seats and dashboard.
Kev's waving.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that. I've looked into some. A lot of products out there have bleach in them. For, you know, the dashboard wipes and that sort of stuff. Don't buy ones that have got bleach in. It's my,
Does it actually say bleach on the back?
It's part of the ingredients, yeah. So
yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah, well, sometimes they change the words of things and give it a number or a weird chemical version. Keith, you're after Neil. Ah!
Yeah, just touching on Kev's point as well. Some of these antiseptic wipes can actually rot the material that's around the steering wheel and the stitching as well quite quickly. So you need to be aware of that.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
This is all right. Solutions then. See, I'm thinking of what are the old, like, there used to be ways of having the world sort things out. Like the best thing to clean windows is vinegar and water, apart from it stinks. It doesn't stink of PPE, but it does stink. It's really useful. There are ways. Now, I don't know what nature's version. I know sunlight, direct sunlight. So in the car in the summer months, when you leave your car I don't know how long it takes, but you put stuff in it, and sunlight works as a cleanser in some ways. So I don't know what the other solutions are, but surely there are things. Vinegar was really good in the fish and chip shop. Bicarb and lemon juice. Thanks, Lee. Lee, why aren't you in here? She's doing really well. So Lee from the attendee group, bicarbonate of soda, yes, I think it does. And lemon juice is another good one. Yeah, brilliant. I think who was next? I think it was Keith. Was you? Yeah.
It's just to say that I bought a box of those online, and I've just looked. I think I paid about £7 or £8, and I've just looked online, and they're going for £17.50 for 50. So you can get them cheaper if you look around, I think.
Can we all club together? You know, a few of us club together, buy bulk, and then separate it out. I don't know.
I would
means we've got to meet up.
I would also hope that a lot of the students will have their own masks, and that way they can take them home, wash them themselves, rather than use ours all the time. That would save us a few bucks.
Well, I think this is one of the other issues. There's masks and masks, aren't there? Masks and different kind of masks. Steve sorted himself out. But there's masks. There's Sammy's one with the thing. There's the something N95s and all the rest of it. People are talking masks, and some people are just putting their t-shirt over their nose and hanging it over their ears. You know, I don't know what's working, what isn't working. Steve, can you hear me?
I think so.
How's the cat?
I'm still at the vet, so I'm waiting for him to have blood tests. That's
Right.
where I've been. So
Yeah.
I've never done this from my phone. I'm just trying to work out what I'm doing.
Just a little tip. People have got these ones, you know, the like papery ones, is that you can wash them. If you put them in a little bag, you know, like a bra bag or whatever, and put them all in the machine, they do wash, they don't split, and they smell nicer. So yeah, you can wash them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Terry didn't want you to out him about having a bra bag.
What is a bra bag? Sorry, are we going off topic now or what?
You know, those zip up bags with like holes in that you put small things in to go in the washing machine. I've got
That's
quite a
something
big
new every day.
bra
Don't you?
bag.
It's like, really?
Keith has got into trouble earlier for leaving the things all screwed up. So yeah.
I'd definitely be socially
you can
distancing
also
from them.
you can also use that alcohol stuff. You know, there's an alcohol thing you can squirt on your masks.
Put them in a
Wash your paper
pillowcase.
ones. Sorry?
If you haven't got a bra case, put them in a pillowcase. It works just as well.
Yeah, a pillowcase. There you go. Terry's.
You never know what you're going to learn, do you, on one of these? It's amazing.
Why can't you just put bras in with the rest of the wash?
You can. I use my little zippy thing for knickers and socks, but there you go. That's my bag. Right. Lee, I think you wanted to say something. Maybe you're getting us back on track and talking sensible.
I don't know. I'm not talking about bra bags. So I was just, somebody mentioned about buying in bulk. I think it was you actually. We did that as an association. So our local association, I think it brought the cost down by about 40% on the masks from buying, you know, if you bought 5 or 10 yourself. We bought, I think it was about 150 that we bought of the washable 3-ply. It was that one that I just put on. Can't remember how much we ended up paying individually for them, but it reduced the costs by about 40% buying in bulk. So that's also a good option if people have that.
Yeah. What drives me nuts is sometimes if you consider buying something in bulk and then you find out, so we all buy all of the disinfectant stuff that's got bleach in it, all of the car wipes that have got things that melt your steering wheel lace, you know, the whatever it is, the stitching, and then we buy it all in bulk and then we can't use it anyway. Or the recommendations change, like no one needs to wear a mask.
I think if I'm right, the DVSA are publishing theirs, aren't they, very shortly? The examiners' guidelines, I think they're due to be published any day. So that might help when we get that guidance from them.
Yeah, there was a bit of information in that email. Yeah, there was, and they will be publishing it as soon as they can. It's difficult, really difficult. The examiners are going to be quite extreme though, you know, where some of the things the examiners have requested in the past have seemed quite extreme in terms of safety, and I you know, I can't say that I disagree with it, but sometimes it seems a little bit extreme.
Is extreme, Fiona? My experience too. £100 to let them pass a test. That is so expensive.
Steve, talk sense to me. Stop Terry.
With regard to what you said about, you know, things melting the stitching and what to use, what not to use, what everyone decides upon is got to be personal choice. But I've gone, and I think I showed you, Fiona, I bought some seat covers. I bought a steering wheel cover. Yeah. So basically everything that I'm wiping down all the time, unless it's hard plastic, it's getting a cover on it, because it might tell me that there's 70% alcohol in it, but I don't know what else is in there. So I'm not risking it on a leased car's leather steering wheel. You know, I think with regards to what you said, though, I think they're saying anything over 70% alcohol is good. And I did witness the other day, I was outside when a critical workers test was done, so I can tell you how the examiner behaved then, if you'd like to know. It was just all very, very sharp. The minute they got back to the test centre, he was out of the car and gone. There's no chit chat. It was a yes or no, and off he went, pretty much.
Wow, that's a little bit, yeah. Well, they could actually have a conversation outside the car in the same way that we were discussing. They could actually, I suppose. I know the confidentiality issues with that, but you know, I'd rather someone overheard me rather than someone got sick.
I think the biggest battle you're going to have with this PPE stuff is complacency. Because I think that person that gets in the car by September, if they haven't caught anything, even with like a cold, everyone's going to stop seeing the sense of this or seeing the point of it. That's, you know, I think, and I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that, because I am. I've even found myself now at the beginning of this, everywhere I went, I had gloves on. I don't do that anymore. I occasionally forget to put my mask on. So come September, am I still going to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing all the time?
Yeah, it's a really good point. Really
You're a
good
rebel,
point.
Steve.
Thanks, Steve. I think
Pushing the
got you, Phil.
boundaries.
Got you, Phil. I think the point Steve made just a minute or so ago about putting covers on things. What a brilliant idea, because then it doesn't really matter. If you buy a cheap set of covers, do that, protect your leather, protect your surfaces and things, put the cover on and then chuck it out once, well, if we ever get back to normal. I can't envisage it. Yeah. Phil.
Yeah, yeah, like Steve, I bought seat covers. I've got a mask or two. I've got wipes and gels. I think also what Steve was saying about complacency, that could be a problem, particularly if they decide to say that the 2 meters is suddenly coming down to 1.5 or 1. Because I think people's attitude is going to be, oh, well, if it's only 1 now, it really doesn't matter as much. So then we could have a few people then who are being less rigid over the guidelines.
Yeah, I'm rubbish at that with what is a meter. I know I am. I know I can tell you if a picture's hanging on a wall straight, but I can't tell you what a meter looks like or 2 meters. Absolutely rubbish at it.
Yeah.
I rely on those. I rely on those lines.
Yeah. I think if people had said 6 foot rather than 2 meters, a lot more people actually understand 6 foot better than they do 2 meters.
Moving on. I'm not going to tell the joke. I am not going to tell the joke about why women crash their cars. Not. Neil.
Yeah, there's a question from Lee. How will we know when we can stop using masks, gloves, etc.? Will this be ongoing forever, or until a vaccine is available, or just no new cases of COVID in the UK? And is there any info from the government on this?
Anyone got an answer for that? Steve, I've got a thought, because I think we're just going to replace COVID-19 with something else. I think our world and pandemics is going to carry on because it's so small. We could just fly around all over the place. Steve?
I think by the time that this current situation kind of gets a little bit better, they're going to be talking about a second kind of winter spike anyway, aren't they? I think it's, you know, anything like that is a bit more prevalent in the colder weather than it is in the heat. So I think it's not going to be this year without face masks, I don't think, somehow.
I agree. Kev?
I think sometimes, you know, you look back to that 5-stage program they had, you know, step 5, step 4, step 3, step 2, step 1 is where there's nothing. I think they're going to be on that. Will we go back to nothing? I don't think that's going to be for some time. The email we got yesterday mentioned the 5 points we need to go back. they've got some of those points already, but there's some that we're nowhere near. So yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I really can't see how, you know, I think we've got away with it a lot already. If you think you can get to Australia in a day, even including all the, you know, rubbish hanging around at airports, and there's no restrictions. We can all just travel everywhere. And if it's an airborne anything, it travels. That's why they try so hard to quarantine everything. Oh, now you've all moved about. Chunk, chunk, chunk. It was Lee. When the windows move, I lose who was talking. I think it was Lee. You had your hand up.
Yeah. Now, I just wanted to say, I think all of those factors will be factors. Everything that she mentioned, or he mentioned, Lee, will be factors. And I think in terms of guidance, I do think that will come from the government. As time goes on, restrictions will ease and ease, but it will follow, like Kev was saying, the 5 points. All of those things I think that she mentioned will be factors. And I do think in terms of going back to normal, there'll be a point, hopefully, at some point in the future where there is an announcement, but it won't be a massive change, because I think the lockdowns and the restrictions will ease gradually over time, and we'll all have adapted.
Yeah, we'll all have adapted. I think we will. I'm really looking forward to what the figures are for the transmission of the other bugs, where a lot of us are washing our hands more, and if that stays, there will be a lot less transmission of the other kind of bugs. You know, the tummy bugs that people have, where I'm not blaming anyone, but people in restaurants don't wash their hands adequately. Those kind of bugs should be on the way down. It should be starting to affect things, and you know, if it carries on, we can have other benefits. There will be other benefits of people looking after themselves a little bit more. I hope Steve's cat's all right, because I think that's why he was waving goodbye. Kev, I think we should do the recap if no one else has got anything to say, but there are positives. There really are positives about this that we can solve.
Okay, you ready? So we looked at masks, and I don't think we really touched on emotions a little bit, but I think we did to a certain extent. But how wearing a mask may affect our interaction. I mentioned about rapport and mirroring, because there's going to be none of that there. People wearing hearing aids, you know, they rely, you know, a lot on lip reading, but if you're wearing a mask, you haven't got that, so it's going to take time to adjust. Masks versus shields, I wrote down. The safety aspect with wearing a shield, we mentioned later on in the conversation, but also trying to get nose bridges in the masks. If you're wearing glasses, the steam or the moisture doesn't go up as much. We looked at some solutions. We might be using our thumbs up more, I think you mentioned. Taking more breaks, getting out the car, contact more before the lesson and also after, so reducing the amount of time we spend with them. Also asking the student for their best practices and how can this work for them if we've got to go through these processes. Lee mentioned it might actually help him now because he's time management, so he'll be looking about the way he works now to help him manage his diary. Going to use Zoom more potentially with meetings with students and clients. Reduce the amount of learners, but increase the time slots to 2 to 3 hour time slots. So we might actually still earn more money because we don't spend time cleaning the car, and also traveling time as well could be cut down if we increase the amount of lessons, the actual to 2 hours to 3 hours. I think Di mentioned that. Terry mentioned that we've always adapted as humans and to chill out and don't worry. Neil mentioned about the clothes wearing and trying to cover up our body as much as possible. Buying in bulk may be cheaper, and you know, if we want to do that, maybe going through associations that if you're a member of to, you know, help us with the cost of those sort of things. But remember, you're running a business. A lot of people don't think of it as a business, they think of it as a service. But if you think of your business, there's added costs now to that business, so we might have to put the lesson prices up. Car cleaning products, be careful, make sure there's no bleach in them, but also mentioned about covers for seats as well. So covering seats with covers we can take off, clean, put back on again. But also not getting complacent. So as time goes on, remember what we're doing is for the safety of everyone, and people tend to get complacent the longer it goes on. There you go.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's unusual for us not to talk about the emotional responses, as in us as the Why Don't You crew, because we do tend to focus on those things. But I think actually we're thinking about the emotional responses of us as ADIs at the moment. So, and we're very concerned. We don't know. We don't have any answers. And this but sometimes to focus on some positives, like we've done during this, can be helpful. As far as I'm aware, there is a Why Don't You, guys, crew guys. Why Don't You crew? Can you put your hands up if you're okay for Friday? Why don't you? I'm going to say yes because I don't know, but everyone else is saying yes.
Okay.
Yes, I've got it in my diary too. So why don't you? We haven't chosen the discussion topic. I'm hoping we can do that afterwards. I'm going to stop the Facebook Live. Hopefully you found it useful on Facebook Live. I've certainly found it useful. It is, again, I find it the emotional roller coaster. So there's really nice things in here and some things that make us think. And it's just a sad world that we're living in because people are dying out there, which makes it very sad. Why don't you next Friday, 11 o'clock? I'll put the post on so you can sign up. Please come in and volunteer to be a panelist. You do not have to be an advocate of coaching in the same way as the Why Don't You crew are. Please just come in and have your say, because we value experience and we just value a bit of difference. Thank you guys, panelists. Thank you, attendees. I'm going to end it on Facebook, but thank you guys. See you soon.